Imagine standing barefoot in the grass as sideways rain and high winds from a Category 4 hurricane batter your childhood home. You aren't stranded by accident. You've just been locked out by your stepfather. The lockout was the climax of a confrontation at the dinner table. Minutes earlier, she had asked him a simple question. Where did the $83,000 from her late father's life insurance go? Instead of answering, he ordered her out into the storm. And her mother, the one person who should have intervened, simply looked at the floor, walked to the kitchen, and let the deadbolt click into place. For 16 years, Roy's control relied on what the neighbors couldn't see. But the moment Francis asked a question he couldn't answer with a lie, the quiet manipulation shifted into a physical lockout. This explosive moment in the storm was actually an exception. Before the hurricane, Roy's method of control was completely silent. He didn't yell, and he didn't hit. Instead, he relied on systematic erasure. He took down her father's photographs until none of them were left. He changed the home phone number multiple times to sever contact with the outside world, isolating the family from her wealthy grandmother. His ultimate assertion of territory happened in the front yard. The biological father had specifically painted the house's fence a vibrant harbor blue. Roy meticulously painted over it with a sterile, uniform white. Long-term domestic manipulation often disguises itself as basic household management, steadily isolating the victim in plain sight while the abuser secures their territory. The isolation ended when a long black limousine turned onto the flooded street. Her estranged grandmother had been tracking the weather and the family for over a decade. She opened the door and pulled her granddaughter out of the storm. Safe inside a concrete-reinforced hotel room, the grandmother revealed the strategy she had been building for years. She operated on a single, defining philosophy. People lie with their mouths, but they almost never lie with their receipts. She presented the evidence. A lawyer had compiled meticulous records. The first folder contained bank statements showing the unauthorized withdrawals from the life insurance policy. The second held a $35,000 loan application, secured against the house using the mother's forged signature. When an abuser builds a life on isolation, they rely on secrecy to protect their assets. But as the grandmother knew, greed leaves a trail of paperwork that doesn't disappear when the lights go out. The final folder contained the document that would dismantle Roy's control entirely. It was the original title deed to the house, proving he never actually owned the property he was using as collateral. The grandmother placed the property into a trust, making the daughter the sole legal beneficiary. The mother's life estate granted her residency, but zero ownership, conditional on her treatment of the daughter. Locking her outside legally forfeited the mother's right to remain. While Roy believed his personal dominance over the household was absolute, the legal reality of the property had been decided years before he ever moved in. Faced with a 14-day eviction notice, Roy launched a desperate counterattack in civil court. He filed an emergency motion to block the eviction based on adverse possession, arguing that because he lived there and maintained the property for 16 years, he had a right to remain. His legal defense crumbled in less than 5 minutes. In their local jurisdiction, the legal doctrine of adverse possession explicitly cannot be applied to property held within a trust. The judge denied the motion, upheld the immediate eviction, and went one step further. He directed the clerk to forward the forged loan applications straight to the district attorney for criminal review. A manipulator can construct a false narrative for the neighborhood, and they can gaslight their family behind closed doors. But those tactics hold zero weight inside a system governed by the mechanics of property law. 14 days later, Roy and the mother packed their belongings into a rented moving truck and vacated the property. They moved to an apartment 20 minutes away, leaving the house behind. With the house legally secured, the daughter took her first act of ownership. She bought a can of Harbor Blue paint and rolled it directly over the white fence, restoring her father's original vision, board by board. Sitting on the quiet porch that night, she listened to the ticking of her father's cracked pocket watch. It was a mechanical truth, something built to keep going, keeping time perfectly, regardless of who was in the house. Today, the $83,000 is being repaid in monthly installments, monitored by a lawyer. The house, built to survive the hurricane, is still standing, not because of white paint, but because of the foundation that had been there all along.